to introduce our last keynote speaker, our master trainer in neurosemantics, Colin Carls.
You're here. Many were called, but you survived. So well done, welcome. Let's talk about what no one wants to talk about. That's what this is about. Let's talk about some of the most recent research about this interesting topic called motivation. So let's just get started. We're going to come back to this very shortly. So let's go straight into this. I want to get to a real important point, and I'm going to be on time. I'm going to be finishing here now because we did a little introduction at 5:29 to the second. So we're going to finish at 5:29, and then there'll be just a few speeches just to conclude. And I know that one or three of you need to depart, and I'll let us all know when they're doing that. That is so fun. So I'm sure you've read that already, because this is where I'm going to go with it. I want to really address this topic, and I believe that we as neurosemanticists and metacoaches are well conditioned, well prepared for the findings that have come forth from numerous researchers and studies on the theory of motivation. I'm going to dispel some myths. I really think that it's time to tread on some toes. I also want to literally take you to a place where I personally believe that we are ready for it. So that's where I'm going. This also is going to be the speed readers version, so I'm going to be talking really quickly because we've got so much to cover, and there's no way that I'm going to be able to do it in just by 5:29. I'm going to do it much faster than that, so we're going to do it as quickly as we can, so the sooner we get to it, the better. Are you alright? So smarten up and let's get on with it, because we have a lot of cover, and I hope that this will prompt you, provoke you, challenge you, and get you to go further. Look into what I'm talking to you about. I am giving you the speed readers version of this, and it's taken me a long time just to get to the succinct presentation on motivational theory. I'm sure that we're all familiar with Abraham Maslow and his work, so I'm going to skim over that very quickly and show you who was before, who was after, and where it's taken from there. You okay with that? This is yes? Excellent. All right then. Before I start, I thought, heck, I looked at you on day one here and I thought, I'm in a room of geniuses. So I thought I'd prove it and give you a maths test. That's right, a maths test. I heard Ty talk about education, and I want you to prove to me that you've had some. So here's the first one. Now, you can text a friend if it's difficult. You can whisper quietly to the person beside you to ask the answer, but we're starting. This is not some sort of lateral de bono type thinking. This is not some sort of creative thinking. I want the actual answer that you would have been taught through your schooling. Are you okay with that? So here we are. I'm going to start easy on you, but I'm going to get real hard. Here we go. Now, if you need a pen, just write it down. Okay, if you've got your iPad open, it's all right. Here it is. 1 plus 1 equals... What? 1 plus 1 equals... Now, if you're not sure, just look around, because the answer can always be in front of you. You just never know. The answer can be there for you. So 1 plus 1, are you okay with that? You got it? 1 plus 1, just in case. Has everyone got it? Yeah. Okay. Good. See? There we go. Shh, don't share the answer, because I'm going to do a survey. The next one, let's up it. Let's take it to the next level. 8 divided by 2 equals... Shh. Shh. I know some of you can't help yourself. 8 divided by 2, got it? I'm seeing some of you do this. Hey, anyone texting a friend? I'm in a really difficult situation at the moment, 8 divided by 2. Did you get it? Now, if you're having any trouble, at all, 8 divided by 2 equals... So just give it a go. Alright? All good? Alright, here's the third and final one. 30 divided by half plus 10 equals... That's right. 30 divided by half plus 10 equals. So now it's time for a survey. I would like you, please, if you would, and you got the correct answer, stand to indicate that you have the right answer. 1 plus 1 equals 2. So if you'd stand, show me that you've got that sorted. Excellent. And of course there'll be always someone who decides that they won't stand. And that's okay. So just have a look at you, look around. And now 8 divided by 2 equals, please take a seat if you got this is the right answer, 4. Have a seat. Excellent. Well done. Like I said, I'm in a room full of geniuses. The third and final one was 30 divided by half plus 10. Please stand if you got the answer 25. There we go. There we go. 25. You got 25. Now if you didn't get 25, stay seated. And some of you are thinking, what's going on here? Right? Do you agree? Because you're looking around right now, and apart from 1 or 2, everyone stood the first time, everyone sat the second time. But right now, you're not sure whether you're in the in crowd or you're in the out crowd, right? Thank you for standing for 25. Please take a seat. If you got the answer 70, please stand. 70. Have a look around. 70. Now, just sort of like, because those of you that got 11 and 12, 13, there's some of you in the audience as well. Please have a seat. Thank you so much. Now I want you to know something that had nothing to do with maths. This had nothing to do with maths. This had to do with how you are already conditioned to receive information, and you interpret it based on how you have a bias or a preconditioning. That's what this is about. And it's setting the frames for what I'm going to share with you. So what we've got, let's go to it quickly. You have a default answer. The question is 1 plus 1. There was a time in your life when you didn't know 1 plus 1. You were asked the question, what's 1 apple plus another apple? And you went, I don't know, when you were little. Somehow you worked it out that 1 plus 1 equals, and you got it. Do you agree? And you went, woohoo, that was good. But then it got tougher. They had 8 apples and they cut them in half. Separated them. And you learned 8 divided by 2. So you have a default learning. At some stage it slips from your consciousness, as all of our frames do. They slip from our consciousness. And now when I ask you 1 plus 1 equals 2. 1 plus 1, 2. 1 plus 2. You're very, very good at responding instantly to it. It's just like that. Do you agree? And it slips from your consciousness that you no longer have to think about it. And thankfully this happens in other areas of your life. For instance, when you get to an intersection and there's a red light, hopefully, you have a 1 plus 1. Car, intersection, red light equals, hopefully. I have seen some of the driving. And on the scooters. Yeah. I often think that maybe the yellow light means like speed up and the red light means hold on. So we have a default system. Do you agree? We have a default answer. However, when your 1 plus 1s are challenged, when I say no, it's not 1 plus 1 equals L, 1 plus 1 equals T or V. You have this irritation in your head. It's like, no. 1 plus 1 equals T. 1 plus 1 equals L. 1 plus 1 equals V. And you are, no. I'm going to be giving you some 1 plus 1s that's going to rock you a little bit. Because we have preconditioned ourselves to accept a certain model of motivation, and we've brought into it. We've said, oh, well, that's how I lead, that's how I manage, that's how I teach, that's how I parent. And we've brought into it, unknowingly, just accepted it as a 1 plus 1, without ever questioning it. Could this be wrong? Is there another alternative? What's the latest research about motivation theory? And have there been men and women in the past, way down in the past, that if we just would listen to them, their voices echo through libraries and research papers to us today that say, hey, you've got it wrong. That's where I'm going. Are you alright? Are you still trying to work out 30 divided by half plus 10? Yeah, you're Googling it right now. Because you have 1 plus 1's like this one up here. Because I had a student that said 1 plus 1 equals window. And you have a 1 plus 1 about spelling, and right now it's being challenged. Do you agree? You're conditioned in so many ways you're not aware of it. So that one there is going, oh, he doesn't even know how to spell. And you can work it out. It says window. And I had one student say, window. I said, come on up. I don't know. That wasn't my 1 plus 1. So he came up and he grabbed the whiteboard pen and he went there and he said, 1 plus 1 equals window. You're a genius! A genius! Do we agree? And I'm hoping that you'd be willing to entertain the idea that a cup is only useful when it's empty. Do you agree? A cup is only useful when it's empty. This is how you think. This is how you feel. This is how you express those in your communications and your behaviours. That a cup, and I'm talking about your cup of knowledge, is only useful when it's empty. Because there's a new emerging model coming out. And maybe without you realising it, we've been a part of it for quite some time. And that's what I want to reveal to you. So are you all good? Are you ready? Well then, let's get started. Let's go for a quick definition. Is that okay? You can always Wikipedia it. But let's just go with that one. Energy to take action, motivation. Let's go with this then. Here it is, the status quo. The old kid on the block, been around for centuries. This is the one. If you're not getting what you want, it's easy, beat them up. If you're not getting what you want, it's okay, give them some treats. Treats and threats, punishment and rewards, incentivising will get more productivity. That's how we change behaviour in an organisation, and that's the way it's been, literally, since the beginning of time. Apart from some interesting men and women in history who said, perhaps we've got it wrong. That's where we're going with it. And of course, this particular model has hit education, it's hit leadership, it's hit management, it's hit parenting. Well, it's been proven. It worked on me. It didn't really hurt me. Well, it did actually, but that's all I know, so I'll do it again. Do you agree? So the things of the past brought into today is what I'm talking about. But let's go back into the past and learn what was going on and see some applications of this model, the status quo model of literally treats and threats. So one of the most obvious ones that I would go to straight away is B.F. Skinner and his research. And of course around animals and how they perform, the Skinner box, etc. And he came out and people ran to it thinking, wow, incentives create and change behaviour. You can actually give people, and or in this case, pigeons and or rats, etc., incentives, and they will literally change. Alternatively, some sort of consequences. So if the pigeon goes up and pecks the light and then it gets fed, and then it pecks the light and it doesn't get fed, interesting creative behaviours start to occur and pecks them more and then turn, and then suddenly new food would come out and say, make a connection, if I do this I get fed. And so that's pretty much the model that has been around way before Skinner, yet he was the one that brought it to the forefront. And so this was pretty much adapted and adopted for many, many centuries around motivation of human behaviour. A little bit like this gentleman here endeavouring to go to run. If you just whip him enough, he'll go out for a run. If you put enough incentives in front of him, he'll run after it. And we've got this literally a primal model of motivational and or animal training. And some have made an absolute fortune out of just take action and put enough pain and pleasure into it and we'll get things done. And they've made a lot of good money out of it, I'm sure. Okay. But what about education? Punishment. When I was at school and I was naughty, and I was one of the naughtier ones, I had to put my hand out. And the school teacher had a big leather strap. And I'd drop my hand. So I'd get more punishment. So I had to hold it. When I went to secondary school, they would have and they called it the cane or a rod, and you had to bend over. So I'd get more. Do you agree? But then again, they'd give me stamps or an apple or a smiley face on my report. They'd give me something as I was growing up. Are you familiar with this model? It's present in education, but not just in education. And there's a sad history of it as well. A disappointing and I think a shameful history of using this type of model to get things done. But it's also in the workplace. This whole model in the workplace is actually about doing exactly the same sort of thing, where punishment and rewards are using. We'll just pay you more commission, we'll give you more incentives. We'll link commission and or your incentives with your work performance, and we'll have an interview with you. If you do well and you can convince me you deserve it, I'll give it to you. So this has been going on for quite some time. I think pretty much we've all experienced this one. And so we can do things like, for instance, home chores. Some of you, how many of you have got children? And how many of you also know that getting them to do the dishes after eating is an absolute punishing experience for you? Trying to get them to do the dishes and wash. Sometimes I've seen it where our children, certainly years back, they would, it's the dishes, and then suddenly someone has to go to the restroom. And then another one will start washing. Another one, that's one knife. One fork. It takes hours. And then you're drying. One knife. So you pay them, don't you? You fall into the trap. You think, well, I'll give you some things. And guess what happens? They work it out. I go slower, you'll pay me more. They're geniuses, 1 + 1. So they work it out, that doesn't... So you've got to keep on paying them more to do the lawns, to do the job, etc. And they're learning that, oh, I'm actually in charge here. Alternatively, they withdraw thinking, you're trying to manipulate me, you're trying to control me with your incentivizing, you're trying to take charge of me, and I don't like it. So then again, of course, it can happen here in education where we endeavour to give iPads. I saw that as a motivational strategy for a secondary school. iPads. Yes, absolutely. These sorts of things given as treats if you would actually just succeed at school. We'll pay them money, we'll pay them, we'll give them. If you would just work hard, I'll give you something. And then you notice that for some reason they just don't perform. Have you noticed this yet? And of course here, sales commission and bonuses, let's just pay them more, and we fall into this trap of threats. Well, I'll fire you, or alternatively. So it's permeating many areas of us. So, at work, here it is. And the most recent findings are showing that this is false. So let's actually have a good look at things. Hopefully this is not any of our meta-coaches or NS trainers. I've brought in a motivational expert this evening. So we need something new, do you agree? We need a whole new approach. So I've given you the speed readers version of the pass through of what we've been working with. So let's see what else is going on. We go back down into 1907, and here we have Mr. Yerkes. He released a book back in 1908, and it was called The Dancing Mouse. The Dancing Mouse. He did an interesting study with mice. Now, I'm not condoning what was done, I'm just informing you of what was done. I'm not saying that I agree with the experiments that were done, undertaken with animals. So I'm just letting you know that in advance. And what he did was he placed a mice into a maze that had an electric current going through the floor. And what he did was endeavour to see if he could condition the mouse to walk through the maze in a given time by electrifying the wrong turns. Does that make sense? So he found, and his studies were, that, that in actual fact, what he found is that low shock equaled low learning motivation, and moderate shock increased. This is fantastic. I've got the data. It can be replicated numerous times because he had a lot of mice. And he says, I can put a mouse in here and just literally electrocute them to some degree or a little, and they could actually know which way not to, and get there faster if I just push up more electrical current. So what's the assumption you could think you could make from that? If a little doesn't work, a little bit more does, what do you think would be a reasonable assumption? Pump up the power! And his findings were the opposite. They actually performed worse. Oh, so it means the more I threaten you, after a while you just say, do it. Ground me, Mum. Ground me. Do you get the idea what's happening? Let's go from that's there, let's go to another one. Here, of course, 1954, and a person that we certainly link to, the father of motivational theory, after not being accepted into World War II, wanted to understand and have an insight of what motivates us. Let's work this out. And of course, I'm not going to reteach what you already know. I think Michael and many of the other keynote speakers have touched on this. And for those of you who have been through neurosemantics, you'll be very familiar with this. Is that okay? I wanted to highlight that this is an important grounding where we understand that there are lower needs and there are being needs, the deficiency needs and the being needs. And here's the important thing I just want to touch on to carry this forward, that once the lower needs are met, they are fulfilled, they become disinteresting. They're no longer motivational for me. They no longer turn my lights on. In fact, I'll ignore it if you pile it up at me. Think about when you're hungry and you've had a good meal. Would you want to then decide what you're going to have for lunch or dinner? It's normally hard. Ask them when they're hungry and they'll be able to tell you easily. And of course, further up there with self-actualization, these needs actually require more of the same and keep you going. So be aware of that part. Then, of course, McGregor, being aware of Maslow's work, came in with Theory X and Theory Y, and I know that Lena did that in her presentation. I know that it's been mentioned a number of times, and I think very, very important for you to go back and actually have a look at his work. Because there we've got an interesting model straight away about Theory X, Theory Y, and yet the dominant one that was consistently promoted wasn't Theory Y, but in actual fact, Theory X. And it dominated leadership, management, and organisations. Do you agree? It dominated. And this is my guess about it, is that it didn't align with Skinner's work. It was all about marketing and advertising and promotions, and the other work was literally suppressed. The work that showed that we needed to promote Theory Y to actually gain sustainable motivation, and Theory X was promoted above it. And we're suffering for that today. Theory X ultimately is a psychology that dictates how you interact with staff. As a teacher, if you're a Theory X, and I saw Tybe show a clear representation in his video clip of a Theory X psychology at play in education. Punishment is a Theory X model. And it dictates your style. It determines your attitude towards people. And now, of course, we have this as well. It influences culture. The model that you're using around motivation ultimately feeds your behaviour and how you think about people. Do you agree? And even think about your children. The justice and correction system, again. Long-term unemployment, same sort of model, is that it's all theory Xing. So let's move on to another one. Here, of course, is Dr. Martin Seligman from his book Learn to Optimism. So we're moving on now. In 67, out of Pennsylvania, here he comes up with this study, and again, I don't agree with the way that animals are treated in this, yet we need to learn what was done. And of course, here we have a dog with an electrified floor, and noticing whether the dog would move when the current was put into the floor. And of course, he is motivated. Until such time, he found an interesting thing, is that after a while, the dog surrendered and lay down on the electrified floor with the current giving him charges, and he would just shake and quiver and just lay there. And that's called learned helplessness. Are you aware of that now? So again, this model of more punishment, it creates and then it just falls over, isn't sustainable, and over time people literally give up. Are we okay with that so far? So now what we've got, and let's move into the 21st century. What if we were to give a whole number of tests, and they're around cognitive testing, so like the Rubik's Cube, Simon is a game that I'll show you very shortly, and we give them money in here, New Zealand currency, and we pay for it. So in comes a behavioural and social scientist, this person here, Dan Ariely, and what he's going to do is he's going to take a number of his students across to India, and he's going to ask people to come into a testing room, and he's going to actually pay you. If you're willing to play for 60 minutes, he'll pay you. The first thing he'll do is that he'll pay you to do these drills, and he'll give you a bonus. If you do really well at this exercise, he'll give you what's equivalent to 1 day's wage. Also, he'll also then have another incentive, so he'll incentivize another group actually do the same activity and see how long they stick at it with 2 weeks' pay. Think about that. And then a third group, 5 months' pay. Isn't that enticing? Isn't that interesting? And remember, these here are thinking, cognitive skills, and or just labour-intensive work. And then the research came in. Are you thinking about which one came first, which one came second? I would be if I was you. So the research came in. Medium bonuses finished second. Second place. Excellent. But which one came first? The ones who were offered the equivalent of 5 months' pay performed worst of all. And this has been repeatedly done over time, where people perform worse the more pay they're given. That's why, for instance, we can have chief executives still given bonuses and they're not actually performing. And they're in the millions of dollars. We only have to look at the global recession and what happened there. They were on great bonuses and weren't able to perform. So now we've got an interesting model. And I'm hoping it's starting to challenge you. Remember, I'd like that to happen. So what he found is that the bigger the rewards, bigger rewards, greater performance. Exactly. But that's the assumption we've been led to think. We've been literally seduced into thinking that if I get paid more, I'll perform more. That's not the case. In actual fact, it's true only for menial, mundane, brain-dead tasks like dig a hole, fill a hole in, dig another hole, fill a hole in, dig another hole. Then it works. Because if you want me to do this job, it's not a very good job, you better pay me a lot of money. Does that make sense to you? However, if it is actually a job that requires, have a read of this very, very carefully. I've underlined the important part here for you. If it requires rudimentary cognitive skills, then we need to understand that the coaching for that person, the leading of that person, will not be sustained through threats and treats and more commissions, more money. It's got nothing to do with it. It will actually facilitate lower performance, and now you understand why your children won't work more for doing the dishes. After a while, you don't have enough money. They're not interested. It's think back now to Maslow's pyramid. I don't need it. How are we going so far? This is an important finding. When I found this, I go, wow, that's amazing. Now I've got a real insight. So let's carry on. Let's go to school. I heard Ty talk about education. So let's see if we can bring this to education. We'll incentivise teachers. This here, and I'd like you to be aware, May 2011. May 2011. Teachers' pay linked to student performance. What a great way to improve educational outcomes, is that we'll pay teachers, and we'll pay teachers good money to help our students perform and exceed expectations. Does that make sense? With the old model, totally. And then we can measure the results. The results are in. Fail. Didn't work. Well, I've got a better idea. Let's go somewhere else. Yep, that's what we'll do. And we'll give them a $15,000 bonus. Now that's money. 15,000 US dollars in my back pocket. That will cure this. We'll get student results up and soaring. Fail. Oh, wow. And here's the sad news for me personally. New Zealand is attempting to do this now. They have set up a master class of teachers and they're incentivising them to gain results. Do they not research? Do they not read? We'll just pay our teachers and we'll get a master class. And we've got $2 million and they're going to spend them on teachers, incentivising them to give our students more results. So far, there's no supporting evidence to prove that that works. How are we going so far? Good. So, you have a task to do. I'd like you to be upstanding. I'd like you to talk. What have you learned so far? Because I've got the good news coming after this. I won't have time to answer questions, so certainly create conversation. What have you learned? What do you want to know? Let's take some time, share what you've learned. Well, I'm hoping that I've gotten you to the point to prove a point. That the point is that we've been duped, we've been seduced, we've been ripped off, we've been misled. That there is a better way to motivate individuals. And that when we're coaching, we need to take this information into account. The seduction is that sticks and carrots, treats and threats actually gets things done. That's the seduction. The problem with it is that it becomes a ceiling, and to raise the ceiling, you have to intensify the threats or raise the rewards. But then it's a ceiling again. And after a while, the ceiling becomes disinteresting and everything falls down. Do we agree? And I'll make my point again. We've been duped. We've been seduced. We've had a 1 + 1. And sadly, cultures, including my own, have fallen into this trap, thinking that's how we do it. I think of it as primitive thinking now. That we're going to threaten you, we're going to cajole you, we're going to blackmail you, we're going to grab you by the throat and throw you against the wall like a good teacher that I am to my student. And you will study. However, this model that I'm about to introduce to you is being brought into education and changing the face of education. It is being brought into the workplace and literally transforming it. And I'll state an earlier frame, we as neurosemanticists and metacoaches are perfectly positioned to take this model further and to give it legs, to give it eyes, to give it hands, to embody it in the workplace. We are ready for that. So are you ready to have a look at this? Let's have a look. And I'm going to slow down just a little. Well, here they are, Edward Deci and Richard Ryan. And they're out of Rochester University, 2010. So we've come a long way, haven't we, from 1908? We've come a long way. And now what we've found through their studies and their research, and they have been willing, which I hope us as neurosemanticists and metacoaches are willing to do, to challenge the status quo of what we think are expected and accepted norms, and to keep challenging them, to keep researching and keep asking, is that true? Could that be wrong? And what else would be possible? So now what we've got is, and they've called it self-determination theory. And they found, which I've already led you to understand, but they can prove it now, there is exceptional research in this area, that the carrot and the sticks don't work. Oh yeah, we've already talked about it. Oh, but they do. Yeah, I know you can justify that. Yeah, sure. However, long-term sustainable, transformative and self-actualizing companies know that that's not the way to go. We need a different model. And these guys are proving it. You're familiar with these terms. Intrinsic motivation within. You heard Michael and I talking about it last night. You heard Michael talking about it when he opened up the conference, right on day one. About self-actualization, unleashing potential. And here we have that if you pay more, you get less. If you pay more, you get less. Go, wow. So what do? What's the answer? Greater consequences, less results. You're grounded. Okay, so ground me then. I'm still not cleaning up my room. Ground me. You're going to lose your Xbox. You're going to lose your phone. Take it. I'm still not going to do my room. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And so misinformed, uninformed parents and or teachers and or leaders think, well, I've got to get a result, and they fall back on carrot and sticks. But we as neurosemanticists know that it's the higher frames. It's the frame that determines the game. Do we agree? The frame determines the game. And that it's not about a behaviourist approach, it's about a cognitivist approach. It's about getting inside and letting that inside frame come through and be embodied in action and behaviour. That's what we already know. Theory Y, isn't it? Theory Y. Now we have research we can literally take into an organisation and show them that this is now an absolute fact, that we need to change the course of leadership away from X towards Y. We must advance and move forward. We must say enough of the past and literally take up a new model that supports all the models we have in neurosemantics and move it forward. Two major distinctions. The reason why your threats and your treats don't work is people feel that you're manipulating them. You're trying to buy me. What do you think I am? That you can just buy me? You think you can just coerce and threaten me? And now we have countries that are revolting, saying, enough. You've tried to put us, enslave us in some way, stop us from having and unleashing our potential, so we'll march. We will literally take up gas masks and walk the streets because they've had enough. No more. They don't want that anymore. People are catching it. Organisations and hierarchies are slow to understand what's going on, and they're being overthrown. They're being overthrown in Parliament, they're being overthrown in kingdoms, and they're being overthrown in organisations and in schools. Because enough. Now there's enough research to prove our point. We can actually take this home now with us and drive it to where we need to go to support those people. And I'll say it because I really like it, is that when you find your passion and you put that, where are you going? So, okay. You're not allowed out. So so it's autonomous motivation, self-motivation. Do you agree? That when your passion's in your profession, I don't want any money. It's not about money. Okay, enough to live. Sure, I've got a mortgage to pay, I've home, I've rent to pay, I've got children. Sure, enough. But you can never pay me enough to do what I love. Never give me enough money. It's not about the money. It's about me realising my potential, and as Maslow talked about, having a peak experience. You can't put money on that. Just keep your money. I don't want your money. Sure, enough to get by. Thank you so much. And let's move forward. Do we understand that model? Autonomous self-motivation. Okay. So this is a visual representation of the three distinct parts that Edward Deci and Richard Ryan found, and I'm using their original terms. Okay, these terms have been changed by some presenters. I'm using their original terms. I think it's important that we understand what they actually found, because even really good models can be diluted and changed to bend towards what they wanted. So I don't have an agenda. I want to show you it as it was originated. Is that Edward Deci and Richard Ryan said autonomy needs to be present. For a person to achieve motivation, they must have autonomy, self-motivation, the ability to choose and to have freedom of choice, to be able to literally decide for themselves. Think about that in schools. To decide when to come to school. To decide when they'll leave class and go to another class, if at all. Wow, I really like this class, I'm going to stay here. So these schools that now have taken on this model no longer have bells. They no longer have start times. They're open 24 hours a day. Different, isn't it? Because if we're going to move away from theory X, we literally have to embrace something totally new. So autonomy is required, and I'll expand on this, and I'm hoping that this will be enough for you to want to go in and start to research it. And I strongly recommend that you get back to the originators, because I have seen in a number of writings, I think it's more about selling books than about actually providing good quality information, is get back to the originators, find what they actually did, and you can't get them on Kindle. I assure you I would if I could. You need to get the hardbacks and follow that information, because you needed autonomy. The other thing is competence. Now another name that I use is mastery. Autonomy and mastery, or competence. Staff want to not only have self-motivation, choice, freedom to choose, to make decisions for themselves, they want to actually excel. They really want to achieve. They want to be competent. They want everything available so they can literally perform. And therefore they want mastery. And I know that if you've been in any trainings with Michael, he will talk of mastery. I know that Tim talks about mastery. Anderson's work on mastery and excellence, the 10 years plus model. So we've got lots there as a neurosomatics community all ready to go that can literally start to help organisations transform themselves. And then of course relatedness. And it's about relationship. I'm sure that Mandy was talking about that just the other night, was she not? She was talking about relationship, about forming allegiance, alliances, collaboration. Do you remember now? And how important it is. So it's about meaning. Relatedness is about meaning. And I'm pretty sure that the first word is neuro and the second word is semantics. And that is about meaning. And this quality here is that men and women want meaning in the workplace, because Theory X drains meaning out. Theory X in education drains the meaning out of education. I heard Ty give a great quote, and I want to support it, around what teachers need to be doing. But here's one for those who are teachers and leaders. If your workers leave your organisational business with less of a drive to actually achieve in the workplace, you are guilty of malpractice. And if you're a teacher, you're guilty of educational malpractice. It's unacceptable to have a student leave your subject less motivated to learn. We must change how we think about things. Self-determination. So results-only work environments, ROWE, results-only work environments. These are workplaces and businesses that have integrated this particular model, autonomy, mastery and meaning, or competence and relatedness, into the workplace. They don't have clock-ins. They don't ban their staff from going on Facebook. This will be challenging for some organisations. They believe that men and women can indeed make reasonable choices about their time. Do we understand how this goes? So we have a whole different model here. Willingness, personal power, and I put that in headings to show you where we're connected. So many areas here. Competence, that we want good training, we want good education, we want to know how to achieve in these areas. And literally, in flow, so Mihai Csikszentmihalyi's work about flow and about how to achieve flow. So that's Csikszentmihalyi's book and work. And then, of course, relatedness. I want work that's relevant. Why am I doing this? Education, because one day you might need it. To this day, I've never ever used a slide rule or logarithms, and I was taught that. That'll explain why I didn't pass. So relevance. Okay. There's got to be more to life, do you agree? There's got to be something between these two givens. Birth and what's in between? There's got to be something, surely, isn't it? Would that be fair to say? And that's as meta-coaches and as neurosemantic trainers, we fill that gap. We're able to impart, we're able to get people to be inspired and to think of higher frames, higher levels, to metastate themselves and to achieve their own vision and their mission through an intent and purposeful mindset. That's what this is about. It's about bringing meaning to the workplace. Ultimately, the highest frame is to bring meaning to the workplace. And Desi and Ryan's work certainly portrayed that consistently, and it's been replicated time and time again. We want work that's meaningful. Do you agree? And you're always making meaning. Right now you're doing that. You're trying to work out what you're seeing, right? Do you know what it is? Some of you are squinting, looking through eyes like that. What do you see? Surface of the moon? Up close concrete? What else? A forest? I hear a forest. What else?
An old sponge.
The old sponge? What is it? SpongeBob. Oh. A human brain. And this is you making meaning. Do you agree?
Yes.
That's what you literally were gifted at birth. You got that. Got the ability straight away. And still you don't know what it is, but once I show you what it is, then you can't not see the meaning. Shall I just clarify a little bit? If I just put it into a little bit more focus, do you see that? So my colleagues from Africa know what it is. Do you see it? Over here, the nose. Going up, on the back, hindquarters, one leg, two legs. It's a... And say it out loud. Badak soup. Did I just swear? So I never know. Badak soup. Simbo. All right then. Now some of you are wondering, what? It's okay. If you come back at 8 o'clock tonight, I won't be here, but you can look at this all night. So I hope you're okay with it. Now, shall I take you back? Because I want to show you how important meaning is. Take you back to the previous slide. So you see that? Because people say, oh no, that's a different slide. I can do that easy. Yeah, well, now have a look. Here's the previous slide. You're able to see it now. You can't not see it, do you agree? Because if I go like that, you see it? Once you see it, you can't not. And I'm hoping today that once you see it, that we need to move towards coaching leaders to be able to create a culture where they allow staff to be autonomous, where they allow staff to achieve mastery, where they allow staff to literally maximise the meaning in the workplace. We will literally change the course of business. We will change the course of education. And in small pockets in the world, they're doing it. However, they don't have the skill sets that we have within neurosemantics. And we can accelerate and facilitate this. It's like, to me, it was a missing piece. I go, wow, this so fits with it. Oh yeah, I understand that you can do the move away from, move towards. That's fine in coaching. We're not talking about giving treats and threats, because that's all about vision and moving away from consequences. But in actual fact, bringing autonomy. So for instance, I can link it immediately to the well-formed outcome. Does anyone here who's a meta-coach know how autonomy is one of the well-formed outcome questions? Which is the question? Autonomy, self. Excellent. Say it out loud, Mizuki.
Is it within your power?
Is it within your power to achieve this?
Yes.
Is it self-initiated?
Yes.
So we've got autonomy in the well-formed outcome. Do we hear what I'm saying? And then, of course, mastery. We have the ability to literally model excellence. And we're able to impart the frames of excellence. We can actually facilitate that through our coaching and through the content. And then equally, meaning. We know about this. We understand it. Do you agree? And what I've been hoping for, and I've said it a few times, that this would be enough for you to start to research. I personally believe that we need more men and women researching, reading, and taking on board new ideas, new models, and bringing them to and within neurosemantics that are evidence-based, tried and proven, and well substantiated. To achieve that will literally take us to the next level. Did you want to ask a question?
IBM in their research department is using this kind of technique for the last 50 years.
Right.
As far as I know.
Okay. Thank you. I think we've been asking the wrong question. This is the sort of thing that educators do, trainers can do this. How I motivate you. Woohoo! I'll just dance and I'll sing and I'll be... Somehow that'll do it. It's attempting to do it from the outside. That you need me. That if I'm not leading you, you'll get lost. I think we need to change our question. What do I need to create? What do I need as a culture to cultivate and to grow so that people will truly realise their potential and become that which they were ultimately driven to do, to achieve? What is the environment I need to do? Coaching, bring coaching in for the highest intention, vision and values. We can do that. We literally can create situations where they want to work through coaching, through facilitating process, through the delivering of our trainings. We can make a powerful difference in an organisation. I'm hoping that you get a sense of what's possible. That when you leave here today, this evening, that you'll be able to go away and think, I can truly contribute to facilitate this and to take everything that you've learned from your workshops, from when I heard Lena present about that the Theory X had enough. Why don't we just go for a higher sense of purpose and intent? Did you hear her say that? That Michael was talking about self-actualization. That Mandy was talking about the same thing as well. That it's about collaboration. It's about support. And I'm bringing it to you now also. Would you be willing to partner one another, to actually join together, to take neurosemantics and metacoaching to that next level? And that we need researchers, we need men and women that are going to start to seek and find and or run their own experiments and give us that research so that we can take everything further. So, the circle's complete. My answer is in the top right-hand corner. This is where I'm coming from. I believe definitely we're suited in every aspect. And I think that we're going to continue to grow. I know I personally am going to take on my own personal mentor, and I will keep on looking, finding, researching, and endeavour to pass that on. Today was the speed readers version. That's why I was talking really quickly for a while there, just to keep up to all of this. Because I needed to actually close it in a certain specific time. And sometimes my words get all jumbled up. I believe that we're ready. Are you ready? Are you ready to do that?
Yes.
That's what I'm hoping for. I know that that's what Michael and myself and the leadership team are hoping for. That to be here in this conference, you'd be willing to literally take the flag in your own way, in your own place, and put it firmly in place. That neurosemantics and metacoaching so can be the difference that a difference makes. So for me, I just wanted to close and say thank you so much for having us here. Because I've got to fly home. And so I know for myself, and Lena will be leaving right after this, so I wanted to say on behalf of both of us, thank you so much, Tiri Makasi, and really appreciate you being here. And I know what the next slide is, so I'm going to invite those who are officially bringing us to a close, if they would show me how they're going to do